Hey guys, welcome into another episode of From the Wing. I'm Christian Clark, the Pelicans beat writer for Noel.com and the Times-Picayune. We are back, Adam. We are so back. Media Day was Monday. It was the first day of Pelicans training camp today, which was Tuesday. I was on site both days, and I have a lot of thoughts on things we heard from Griffin, Trajan, and Willie, things we heard from the players, Zion with an edge trademark. Zion maybe at the 5 this year. James Borrego. I was going to say, where do you want to start? But I want to start here. This was the story of the offseason. Let's just discuss it at the top. We got a lot of details from Griffin Trajan about the new look medical staff. Aaron Nelson has been reassigned. He's effectively out of the picture. I don't care what title they give him. He's not going to be around the team this year. Pelicans have brought in Amy Atmore. She is a physical therapist. They did not have a physical therapist around the team last year. She'll form kind of a three-headed monster with Tom Maystat, who is the head athletic trainer, Daniel Bove, who, I don't know, he has a very long title, but he's been with the team for a couple of years and he's a well-liked guy within the organization. Those three will be kind of in charge of the medical staff. And there was this tidbit of news that I feel like a lot of the other local media weirdly did not seize on that I thought was hugely significant. David Griffin was kind of the point person for the front office on the medical staff. That is no longer going to be the case. Trajan Langdon is taking that over. Griff is washing his hands of medical duties.
That sounds great. It sounds incredible. Yeah, so I liked everything I heard about how they went about this hire, and like their thought process. It's weird a little bit to hear that there wasn't a physical therapist position somewhere in that decision making, that management group, just because that seems like an odd place to have a gap. But I guess they felt like they had like crossovers of skill set that made them feel comfortable having a little bit of that gap. Clearly, Aaron Nelson, title in name only. Here's your check. Thanks for your service, kind of thing. Not to be a lot of things that are problematic in the year 2023. But I think the players looking at a younger lady that's not going to yell at them and is more relatable to guys that are younger, probably will listen to what she has to say a little bit more than crusty old guy who's trying to tell you how it is. I think like there's a lot of ways this goes well. She's got a lot of direct experience. Hilarious that some of her past experience, Phoenix Suns, just keep them coming. Just keep that Suns pipeline coming.
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns, and then she worked closely with Russell Wilson. She was part of that team who, were helping, Russell Wilson maintain his body and everything. One of the things that Griff and Trajan both said was this change was a result of talking to the players after the season. It was very clear that they met with a bunch of players, got their thoughts, and there was enough players who said, "Hey, this wasn't working for me. We should maybe go in a different direction." That they decided to make the change on Aaron Nelson. I mean, if you think back to Griff's comments at his end of season presser, he said, "I don't want the conversation to be on the medical staff. Like, there's a lot of issues at play here, and there are a lot of issues at play here." But it didn't sound in that moment at the, like as soon as the season ended, "Oh, I'm going to make this change." But then they talked to a bunch of players. They decided to make the change. It kind of reminded me of the Stan Van Gundy situation. I mean, that was how that shook out. It looked like as soon as that season ended, okay, the seat's a little bit warm, but Stan's not going anywhere. He's at least going to get a second season. Griff talked to, a lot of the players. I think, the word from a lot of them was this just did not work for us. I thought this unfolded somewhat similarly.
Yeah. And again, it's just process wise. I like how they go about the decision. Like as much as there are things to beat up Griff about in the decisions that are initially made, we can also say he corrects mistakes when they're identified. And this is just another example of correcting a mistake. I think we all felt pretty good about Aaron Nelson coming in and felt like, he's among the more famous sports medicine and physio minds around the NBA, we all like know his name before now because he's got a lot of famous rehab cases in his past. And he kept a lot of guys healthy that had really bad tenures elsewhere, but it clearly wasn't working. Like, it's a results-based business, which is going to be the echo. That's the theme this year, right? This is the theme of everybody who got questions. This is a results-based business. This year only matters if there are results. Like, we did not get as much fluff as we have gotten in prior years from just about everybody who spoke. We got a lot of, we got to win. We got a lot of, we got to play. We got to be on the court. We got to be available. We did get a little bit of that Griff word magic, that delightful word salad, a nice Caesar with a homemade Caesar dressing, chopped up the anchovies himself with a little bit of our, we got to be better on our no-show rate. And this team is still full of, wonderful, incredible humans. These incredible humans better get some dubs.
The no-show rate he's talking about, tickets, right? Like he was basically going to bat for ownership there and saying, we're selling tickets. It's just people who are buying the tickets are not actually showing up to the games. That's what he meant by no-show rate. I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but
that's a big medical term. So like we deal with that all the time in clinics. So it's a funny term for him to use.
Well, one of the things that I think, and I'll just briefly go down this road that I've seen from Griff the past few weeks, is noticeably trying to lower the temperature on ownership. And, I wonder if there was like a conversation about like, let's take the temperature down a little bit, because it did get turned up on ownership this offseason. And I think, frankly, a lot of that was like my reporting and, their mishandling of the local rights deal. Adam Silver telling me that every NBA arena deserves a state-of-the-art, or every NBA market deserves a state-of-the-art arena. I mean, I think issues that they've mishandled or haven't handled properly or need to handle in the future, like they're kind of coming to a head. And I think Griff is noticeably like lowering the temperature on Mrs. Benson and Dennis Lauscha and Greg Bensel and those folks.
Hey, look, of all the criticisms that you could give Griff, you can never give him that he doesn't understand the assignment.
I mean, look, the NBA it's pretty Games of Thrones-y,
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's a lot of politics there, and KS is a ladder, and Griff has climbed that ladder well.
Look, he's obviously like, we're walking into a lot of expectation this year, except the expectation this year isn't quite what it was last year. Like last year, you're looking for that growth into contendership, and we end up having just a crazy nightmare season where really the positive is that you got this trickle of hope in the beginning. Then the only positive you're left with at the end of the year is that it looked like Trey Murphy was evolving as a scorer, and as a player in general, because his defense got better too. But other than that, it was just like, it was an absolute shambles of injuries and guys playing through injuries. And there just weren't enough bodies to even play what you wanted to do successfully. So this year, the expectations are pretty simple. Like it isn't like build to contender. It isn't, everything has to be done every single game for this whole season, because nobody is promised tomorrow. And it certainly sounded like everybody has gotten some semblance of that message.
I totally agree. I think everybody's like said the right things, and I like the way just the overall messaging was handled on media day. It was like, look, maybe there will be things that are out of our control, but we need to control every single thing that we can control. We can't make any more excuses. Like, we have to do it right now. Like, it is so vital that we take a meaningful step forward right now for so many different reasons. I did think it was very interesting that CJ and Larry both said, hey, look, I've got love and respect for medical staff who's here, but also not here anymore. They're talking about Aaron Nelson, and kind of the message from them was, we played through injuries to sort of send a message, and it's on the players. Like, the team has met a lot of these players halfway now, and it is on the players, to some degree, to stay on the court as much as possible. And there is going to be bad luck and things you just can't do anything about. And we all understand that, but it just felt like a lot of the time last year, players were not doing everything that they could to get back on the court. I liked what we've seen from CJ so far. He's shown up in incredible shape. Griffin said a couple times he's been the best player on the floor in the lead up to training camp. Um, I think CJ is a true leader because he's not afraid to say the hard thing, and he's walking the walk to me too.
Yeah, I think this is always the role that was intended, and I think they did a nice job of just, not using excuses, but kind of painting the picture of last year. Like, he's fighting injuries, he's got a new son, he's dealing with the closure of the new CBA. Like, there's just a lot going on, and it's the first full season. Oh, and we're a mass unit, and he's trying to play through injury because we're a mass unit and like lead by example. It's just kind of a mess. And he made no excuses about it whatsoever, but it will be a different kind of year for him. And it's great to hear that he got to spend all that time just putting time into his body and, his basketball work ethic to be ready for this season, because at his age, every moment matters. Everything he does, every amount of conditioning he does is adding on minutes that he's going to be able to play throughout the season. He's always known that. He's trying to exemplify that for the guys who don't know it. And that's probably a nice transition into the guy that we heard a lot of stuff about in terms of his preparation for the start of the season. Sounds like things have semi righted themselves in Zion's wheelhouse, in terms of how he's taking care of his body, his commitment to his game, despite, obviously what we'll term as off-season distractions. I think the phrase taking accountability in all aspects of his life, I think that was a good turn of phrase. It covers kind of all the bases. He is doing that on the personal side. And now, like, we've seen and we've heard that he's been around more, that he's been doing stuff, that he's been playing with the guys a lot more. And what is the thing that we complained about through a lot of our episodes to this point is you never hear about him working out with the guys. You never hear about him practicing with other NBA players. And it just almost seemed like he didn't have an NBA friend. And now we have a guy that's in the gym. He has been here. While he has had staff members before, it sounds like this time Zion Latif Williamson himself is responsible for the people who are putting time in to help him prepare and maintain his body, rather than having like some guys that were recommended by some folks that he's not so invested in. It sounds like it's do or die.
I completely agree. One of the things that Griff said is that Zion invested in his personal staff in a way that we've never really seen before. He had like some folks, there was that whole thing of like his people made a big deal about he hired a personal chef. That was, I believe, last year. It was Christian Green, who I think he works for Larry Morrow's restaurant group now. That was over really quickly. It seemed like Christian Green did like one interview and he was out the door, and he had a different chef. And there was a personal trainer, which I reported on. You can go read about. This guy's name was Jasper Bibbs. But yeah, it seems like Zion has a team. Seems like he's invested a lot in that team. He looks good to me. We should be fair to Zion. He looked really good at the start of training camp last year. And, once he got his legs under him, played phenomenal basketball. I mean, never forget how special that guy was in the month of December last year. I mean, legitimately one of the best months the Pelicans have ever had in franchise history, like game-changing talent on both ends. So I think we're seeing a lot of the right things. It's been the mentality has been really interesting. I mean, Trajan Langdon said he came in with an edge. He hasn't said a lot to media. He said, let's just win. I don't mind it at all. I don't really care as long as he's doing the right things and doing what he's supposed to do off the court. Like, I don't care if he's yucking it up with local media. It makes no difference to me. Like, let's just see him on the court and do his thing, and everything will take care of itself.
He's a walking Hall of Famer when he plays. That's the hardest thing about watching his career so far is he's a walking Hall of Famer when he plays, and he doesn't play a lot. And he's done different pieces of seasons right, and then something goes wrong that then spirals out of control because his body is the type that, while it is capable of superhuman things, is also capable of superhuman breakdowns. So, this is the best you could ask for. This is the most you could hope for to this point. And, we're the last two people that are going to say, everybody go grab your season tickets. They're winning 60 games. Like, we are the last people that are going to say that. But from an adult, like a responsible point of view, this is as prepared, and this is the right demeanor that you want to hear from everybody. As much as everybody wants to freak out about the injuries to some of our rotational guys, the timing around those injuries seems somewhat fortunate. Obviously, Trey will probably linger into the season a little bit, but it does not seem like some nightmare scenario. Sounds like we're going to have Jose back here in like a matter of days. Like, he's going to be ready for the preseason. And everybody else, like, I think Larry got some recent treatment. It sounds like we have approximately, 95% plus health in terms of going into the season, and we have the right attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I was on record over the summer of don't trade Zion. I think I tweeted it. Look, I think I've also written that so much is hinging on one of the NBA's most unreliable players. I think it's okay that I had that opinion, and also like said that I think it's kind of true. Like, Zion has to prove it. At the same time, like, I personally would not have given up on him, and the Pelicans didn't, because he is just so freaking good. I would try to change every single thing around him, and they kind of are with the medical staff. I just think you need to exhaust every possible option, because the guy is just so darn good. I think it's going to be really interesting how the Pelicans use him this season. I think Zion has probably been most effective, kind of as like the lead guard at times. I mean, like, Stan Van Gundy went to that. They had the number one offense in the NBA for a 2-month stretch. Last year, it was a lot of point Zion stuff in December, which was their best month. I mean, they won the most when it was Zion with the rock. Um, I don't know that we're going to see as much of that this year. I think we're going to see Zion at center in spurts. That's something that Willie Green said Monday at media day. It's something he reiterated Tuesday at practice. I think that's really interesting, because if you look at like the percentage of minutes Zion has played at center in his career, it's 5%. And I could just tell you, in the past, I don't know if things are different now, Zion has not expressed enthusiasm about playing the center position. In fact, like Chris Finch, who was the associate head coach under Alvin Gentry, he's in charge of the Minnesota Timberwolves now. That was an idea that Finch was okay with, is like, let's look at Zion at the 5 here and there. And, it's like some Pelicans executives thought that was stupid. They were like, Zion hates the 5. We're not going to do that. It looks like we're going to see it this year. And I'm really curious. I mean, I think it can be extremely dynamic offensively, obviously. Are you a disaster defensively? Can you rebound enough? Those are my questions.
So there's already an incoming challenge for this year, right? Like, one of the places we were very, very weak last year, and there was not going to be a discernible change in this per game rate, rebounding. You already are looking to your wings and your large guards. They are going to have to do this team will have to team rebound. You are not just going to have JV getting you 30. He can get you a ton, and he's going to get you a ton. And yes, guys, if you're crazy, I don't know if you're nuts, but JV is going to be in your starting lineup. Sorry about it. Willie Green is who he is.
I don't even know like what you're talking about.
There's the entire, like, we misuse JV people, and we need to get Trey into the starting lineup. So, like, drop JV from the 5 if you're not going to trust him, all that stuff. Don't worry about it. It's Twitter stuff.
Won't worry about it.
You don't care about it. But this is just to get your best 5 guys on the floor. Like, every great team that's ever done anything gets their 5 best players on the floor. There has to be a future. You want there to be a future where Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, plus Trey, plus Zion all play at the same time. You have to find a path to that place, because if you can, you have dynamic shooting. You have several guys that can handle. You have three plus handles, not like, lead guard type stuff, but you have your 5 best players out there, and Herb does a lot defensively that can make you, defensively appropriate. We've seen BI, especially this little FIBA run. The one thing we can say is that BI's defensive effort during the FIBA run was the thing to be proud of. Like, he was a little bit of a rim defender. He was a little bit of a rebounder. He made some tough plays, struggled on offense, but, third or fourth mouth to feed was a little strange with a ball dominant point guard. I think it is an eventuality you have to explore. You need to know early if it's going to be something that you can go to. You need to play around with it because you need to find a way to keep Trey out on the floor in closing moments with the best guys. Because Trey being on the floor with those guys, having Herb as the defensive cleaner and Trey as the ultimate spacer makes the other three guys' lives pretty impeccable. And you just got to find your way there.
And one of the things we talked about time and time again on the show last season was if Willie Green has a choice between defense and offense, he is most of the time going to take defense. That's kind of been his instinct. At least that's my read on the situation so far as an NBA coach. He really wants to establish that defensive identity. He kind of has. I mean, the Pelicans finished 6th last year. I think it's totally legit to criticize what the Pelicans did offensively last year. They're 20th, extremely disappointing. They did things to correct that, but going to Zion at the 5 is going to require Willie Green to go do something that maybe he's not the most comfortable with. He's going to just have to get comfortable with the idea of, we're kind of just going to have to outscore people when we have this lineup on the floor.
Now that was maybe probably one of the most what probably gets a polar reaction. I actually haven't seen much reaction to the sentence that Willie said, but I would bet that this is a bit of a polarizing sentence. The inclusion of Borrego into this team and what his offensive ideas and their relationship, what kind of impact that's going to have on the offense. And Willie, as always, very, measured, drama-free guy, was like, I don't think you're going to see a completely different offense all of a sudden. I don't think you're going to see completely different concepts. I think you're going to see slight tweaks. And we all, when we hear Borrego's coming, we're like, that guy gets people to shoot threes. That guy creates really, really good offenses. And he's done it with people that were non-traditional people to do that. He kind of made Scary Terry when he got to Charlotte. You were like, oh, I don't know if this is a great deal. Why'd you pay him so much? And then he just let him fire away. You're like, oh, Scary Terry. All right.
I think one of the interesting things about, kind of those Charlotte teams and this Pelicans team is the Charlotte teams had a lot of guys who could handle the ball and push the ball in transition and distribute a little bit. The Pelicans don't have a lot of traditional kind of one types, CJ McCollum, not really. They go point Brandon Ingram sometimes, and it's great to end the season last year. But can you play as fast as you want? Can you do the things you want, get up and down the way you want, without that guy, without a LaMelo Ball or something like that, kind of pushing things. It sounds like we're going to see a lot of Brandon Ingram sort of at that lead. I think Brandon Ingram, who is at lead and plays fast and makes quick decisions, is an extremely good player. And that was the guy we saw at the end of the season last year. I think the deliberate Brandon Ingram is kind of a meh player. So, if they're going to do that, I want to see Brandon play fast and make quick decisions and, please, play snappy basketball. Don't just dribble it a bunch of times and then take a tough mid-range, every single time. It could be a tool, but it's play fast is all I'm saying.
Yeah, we can't dribble the clock out of it, dribble the clock down and then just take the shot that's there. That's just every good offense in the NBA moves the ball. The winning statistic is the number of assists and assisted scores. That's the thing we need to get, and it needs to come from everywhere. Now, that's the one thing. While we only have one real table setter type point guard in Jose, one guy that can really run around the floor, get wherever he wants to with his handle, and that will do so. We do have a lot of guys who are above average competent on ball for their position. So we have a lot of really good passers and a lot of really good cutters. So we should be in a position where the team aggregate, if everybody buys in and the ball moves and they play really fast, the team aggregate should lift that category for you. It should put you in a position to survive that, because everybody's passing level is pretty solid. Some guys are really good, but I think it's just, I kind of want to hear that Borrego's like, yeah, he's come in and he's renovated things. We have heard some things from individual players that like their own conversations with Borrego, like CJ's made some comments about how like this guy, I really like how this guy sees the game. Like I can learn a lot from him. You love hearing that. We know what his track record is. He should be helpful in an area that we know was a problem. We have to get more threes up, even if it's not like Willie said, always tempering things down. We're not going to all of a sudden be a league leader in threes, but we have guys that can make them at a good clip, and we need to shoot more of them. So everybody's got to buy in on shooting more of them. Brandon being the main one. Borrego is the right kind of guy to hire to do that, and they kept everybody else around. So hopefully we see that.
Brandon Ingram confirmed on media day that he's not going to sign an extension this offseason. That was consistent with what I reported last month. And it's just kind of common sense. I mean, Brandon has 2 years left in the deal. If he plays out this year and makes an all-NBA team, he becomes super max eligible. And what that means is his starting salary on that extension can be 35% of the salary cap. Basically, if he makes all NBA this season, or God forbid, like wins MVP or something, he is in line for a gargantuan bag. Jaylen Brown got the Supermax from the Celtics. That deal's worth something like $300 million. Like you're talking, like in that ballpark, like a quarter of a bill and upwards if he's able to make an all NBA team. That is going to require him to play at least 65 games. That's a new rule the NBA instituted of if you want to be eligible for these end of season awards, you got to play in at least 65 games. All of that is to say Brandon should be motivated. Like both their two main guys, like if they're not motivated by what went on last season, I don't know. Like let's just give up. Like
Back it in. We're going home.
Pack your ball and go home if you don't see a motivated Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram this year. Because, they have every single reason to show up and be motivated this year.
Yeah, we heard the right stuff. Now it's time to get into the real stuff, like get into the week to week grind, start to hear how things are going in camp. Start to see some preseason games, see what things are going to feel like. I'm still excited. There are guys that I'm still like hyped about. Like I'm still excited to see what Dyson's going to turn into. I'm still super high on him. I am still ridiculously high on Jordan Hawkins and his fit here and being able to carve out, I don't expect him to play 25 minutes a game. Like that's not realistic. But do I think he can be a volume 3-point shooter that can get him off of, on the run and on pin downs and everything? Yeah, I do. I think that's his shot profile of his entire life. And we have to have somebody on this team that can do that. So it'll be interesting if he has a bench role where he comes in and it's like, give me 15 minutes of hell. When you touch the ball, it goes up. And like, that's what that dude is for. Like, that's what he does. So, yeah, dude, I'm getting back to excited. I'm slowly working my way back away from.
Where's that optimism on a 1 to 10 scale right now?
I mean, look, like we're still at like a 6. It's not. We've exceeded 5. That's great because it was in the dumps. It was absolutely in the dumps. Like I agree. I was just like, you know what? They're going to kill me one way or the other. The only thing I have going for me right now is Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur, but. The Pelicans, because Ange is carrying me like this, I can't be hurt right now. I can't be hurt. And it's early in the season. Like this is a time of hope. I'm hoping that excitement builds and I get to like, a nice 8. Maybe if I just pour another couple glasses of this guy, maybe I'll get to an 8 tonight. Who knows?
I think I'm cautiously optimistic. If I don't like I would definitely take the over. I mean, I expect them to win more than they did last year, certainly. I'm thinking like high 40s, and it all kind of comes down to Zion, and is it like, are things really different this time? / can we get a little bit of injury luck too? And that's kind of what it comes down to here. And I think that, at least on the first question, I think maybe it's different this time. Maybe I hope so.
I feel like you're trying to make me gamble again. I had 13 preseason bets on the Pelicans last year. 13.
Yeah.
All of them lost.
I was so confident last year, and
you just said you'd bet the over.
I was so confident last year in like the Pelicans are going to have this kick-ass season. I mean, you go listen to those episodes before the season. I was like, there's no way. There's like this over-under is way too low. Like this is going to be an amazing year, and I don't see
Matt Moore.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody else can even disagree. And that was my take until like January 2nd, and then things started to change after that. But yeah, man. I mean, it's just interesting to me, and I don't expect to get any forthcoming answers, and I don't think I deserve any forthcoming answers. Like Zion doesn't owe anybody anything except to like play hard for himself and his teammates. But I just wonder where his head is at. Like I'm so curious because he just had this insane summer where, I mean, like frankly, he's just maybe like it's not like the best decision making. Like he hasn't, there was never anything in the news about like he did anything illegal. So like, but like, and a lot of it was just like, bad stuff that happened that, was like unfair to him and kind of gross. We don't need to rehash it, but I just wonder where his head is at. I mean, it's got to be weird being 23, trying to make this transition from child star to adult face of the league and being so intensely in the public eye. It's got to be hard, and I just hope he can kind of like find that peace. Like I just hope that part of him that understands you can't control, the other stuff that happens. All you can control is what you can control. Like, I just hope that light bulb has gone off for him. And I have no idea.
It's what we ask for every season, right? It's the unfortunate cry that we've had since the second he was drafted here. This is the question every year, but this is, at least on the context clues that we have going into the season, this is the best thing we have to point to. In a tumultuous offseason, he still made some correct decisions in preparation for this year. And like, that's what adulthood is, right? Like adulthood is having adversity happening all the time. And you wake up and do the right thing anyway, because you have to, because it's your job, because you don't just live for you live for somebody else. And, I think to some degree, there's some sort of silver lining to be found there, that despite what is like, a lot to happen in a short period of time in the offseason and coming off another injury that ended another season, he signed back up and he did a lot of right things.
The other thing too is it seems like he's never, had a better relationship with like Griff and Trajan and Willie. And I don't even know that it's great relationships or anything, but it's not bad relationships, like he shouted them out at media days, like, hey, like, thank you to them. Like they've really had my back throughout this. So it seems like he's in a better place with just, having okay relationships with people across the board. And I frankly, I don't know how close they are. But yeah, man, I'm that optimistic feeling. It's kind of back.
So you're saying there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
Lucy, do not take that football away when I run up to it again.
I mean, she won't. She won't. Go ahead and kick it.
Don't you dare, Lucy. Do not move that football.
She would never do that to you. She wouldn't. You're friends. She would never do that to you. You care about each other. Look, I'm probably going to start gambling again. But
that'll be good for you.
You know what? We're at a 7. Just now, I think we just got to 7. My optimism scale is up to a 7. Here we are. Thanks to this delightful juice right here. And probably just that I'm having some sort of come down off of all of the stress of moving into a new home, which, by the way, fans, welcome to this very, very white domain of mine that used to be a girl's bedroom. That is now the extra room. It'll be much more manly soon, I promise. And things that have Pelicans logos will be, seeable soon. I'm starting to lose my vocabulary now. How many of these do I have? Anyway, so generally speaking, I think one of the things I did want to hit before we get off. I don't know how much longer you want to go. I did think it was interesting on the same topic of where Zion's relationships with people stand. One of the most intriguing sentences I heard was from Willie. When Willie said that he's realized in conversations with Zion this offseason that he needs to be more intentional about his relationship with Zion. That struck me a little bit, like more so than a lot of things that were said. Because that to me says that like Zion does want to hear from Willie, and that maybe Willie was like approaching him when he felt like he needed it, and that he kind of needs to rhythmically just like be in Zion's personal and professional life, like needs to be talking to him, like generate the conversation. It sounds like a door was opened there that was previously shut. And that to me, like, I love hearing that kind of stuff. Like interpersonal stuff, you rarely get those little nuggets. I know nobody's going to go write a report on that, but I loved hearing that sentence because they had a deep conversation there. That was a deep cut.
So my kind of read on that, I think Willie was very wary not to come on too strong. I think that Zion has had so many people in his orbit over the years who, just wanted something from him, right? And it's like, he's just been famous for so long that it's like it's probably hard for him to have genuine relationships and be trusting. And I think Willie was, a little wary of coming on too strong. And I think, we've seen he's been his coach for 2 years now of, okay, I'm gonna put like just a little more effort into this potentiality, a few more text and things like that. Which I think is good. And like, dude, Willie Green gets the NBA life and the craziness that comes with it. He played with Allen Iverson at his peak, and Allen Iverson loves Willie Green, by the way. Like, I don't know if you guys pay attention to that, but like AI loves Willie Green. So I think Willie Green understands all of it. Like, he gets it.
Willie Green, man of God, is heartfelt appreciated by Allen Iverson. Just saying. That's a versatile man right there. That if he can be that guy who leads the prayer circle and also the notorious late night gambler guy who's getting into trouble because that's just how he lives, also loves him, that man contains multitudes. He does.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Zion should like lean on Willie. Like, that's a guy he can actually trust and will like, act in good faith to give him good advice. I think that was a good observation. Adam, I don't know if you noticed this. This was our 100th episode. It's been fun doing this thing with you so far. We are going to get back to a once a week schedule now that the season is here, and it should be fun.
I'm not letting you leave just yet. Was there anything said during media day? Was there any one statement that like sent a little tremble that made you go the other way, that made you like wince a little bit? Because I have one.
I don't know. I don't want to say on the podcast.
All right.
It'll just make me sound bad. What was yours?
Mine was how much we need the leadership of Cody Zeller. Really, it's a little scary. It was said with real deep sincerity and his championship experience. Really.
Well, look,
I tensed up a little bit. Like I felt myself start holding my breath involuntarily. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if is this real? Look, this is not to completely rip Cody Zeller. Look, we need a big in the rotation, especially with Jax leaving, even though Jax was like virtually unplayable on the team last year. Cody's a vet. You need a vet. You need a cheap vet. You need to grab rebounds. You need another big. That's all fine. It just felt a little weird to me to like emphasize his veteran leadership and championship medal.
Look,
Ask Miami about the Zeller minutes.
I think if you listened to the show last year, like I think you probably would have heard like, I think a problem with last year's Pelicans was that the best two players are, in my opinion, not like strong leaders. And that's okay. Not everybody is. And I think like our friend Shimadua wrote a good thing about this topic, a couple of months ago, the cost of leadership. Like the Pelicans have tried to get leadership on this roster with like role players in a number of different ways. I just don't think like the best two players in this team are like like the strongest leaders maybe. So, yeah, man. I mean, look, this still can be a really good team. Maybe one of those guys will grow into that. You don't even have to do it vocally. You can just do it by example. Like you can just lead with your actions, and I think that could be really effective. But yeah, are you ready for some Zeller in your life this year? He was an engaging guy to talk to. He said he just got married. I can't wait to spend his first year of marriage in New Orleans. Him and his wife are walking around Audubon Park. He seemed pretty chill.
Yeah, Zellers or Plumleys or what, they're all it's all the same. It's all the same to me. At first you get confused whether or not he's like a member of the coaching staff, or like a senior PT guy for the team. And you're like, oh wait, no, that's our backup center. Look, he does have a lot of good experience. And he came up in Indiana. He was a great college basketball player, highly touted prospect. He's one of those dudes that Michael Jordan got obsessed with, because Michael Jordan gets obsessed with college players that produce at the college level, and he lets that outrank what their NBA potential is. Michael Jordan will always do that, and that is why Scoot Henderson will play for the Blazers. Just saying. It's Michael Jordan's biggest tell in the world. But Cody Zeller is a lower paid veteran center that can go out there and do a lot of things right, and is not going to break your defenses and knows where to
we
be.
don't have to do the Cody Zeller scouting report. It's
well, like I'm trying to be positive, because otherwise the alternative is I'll tell you that he's a long gangly man that I don't know how much more basketball he has left in.
Adam, we have a lot of months left of the season. All right. We don't need to get into the Cody Zeller talk in like the first episode of the new season.
It's not my fault. Griff said his championship experience was what we needed on this team.
Okay. You know what? I'm pushing that aside. I'm choosing to be positive. You guys all know I'm just a relentlessly positive presence. That's who I'm known as in the Pelicans community.
Shill, Christian Clark.
Yeah, that's how I'm known in this Pelicans community. A ray of sunshine. Adam, in all seriousness, it's good to talk to you again, man. Good luck with that move, and I'm excited to pump out these things weekly again.
Happy 100th episode, brother.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.